You know, there's a traditional misunderstanding within many of the communities in Kenya on the protection of wildlife, because historically government would come in, take a piece of land, declare it a national park, remove all the people, and so there was an ingrained contempt, fear, even anger about loss of land to wildlife. Lewa doesn't need to own land. Lewa needs to support wildlife as a development tool. Much of the ground adjoining the conservancy, on our southern boundary, it's all agricultural land. But to the north of Lewa, it's prime wildlife habitat. And the communities there are pastoralists, they're cattle. And wildlife can live alongside cattle. This isn't a case of changing cultures and changing traditions. It's a case of enforcing an opportunity for wildlife. The basic model of what we're working towards with our adjoining communities is to provide all the logistical support to develop wildlife as a resource within their land. By logistical support, I mean we can maintain vehicles, we can run accounts, we can communicate with the world at large and bring in different levels of expertise on research, monitoring, vegetation, tourism, marketing, construction. And so we have access to a Western world of expertise. As a nomadic pastoralist living in Ilingwezi, I'm a capitalist, I have cattle, I sell my cattle, but my wealth is not money, it's cattle. But I don't have any perception of the value of tourism. Kenya is changing, it's getting smaller. We have an expanding population. The concept of private ownership of land in these nomadic areas is now getting more and more established. So that tradition of moving with your cattle, that's gone. So the Lewa model is really to raise the capacity within that community to manage their own lives to a much higher commercial objective. Within any given community, like Ilingwezi, you have 6,000 people. Not every one of those 6,000 people thinks wildlife is the best thing, but they're in the minority. The majority of those people have either seen employment, improved schooling opportunities, better security, improved infrastructure throughout their land, increased recognition by government of their capacity to manage their own land. And I believe the real dividend of this work won't be seen for another 25 years, when the wildlife numbers really will have got back to what they were in the 30s and 40s, where they will be recognized tourist destinations, the same as the national parks of Kenya. That's when the judge of the work that we're doing today will be, is whether those are international destinations producing a serious dollar revenue for those communities in conjunction with their own cultures. And it won't be until wildlife numbers have built up.
Without Lewa, Ilingwezi couldn't be here. The meaning of the word Ilingwezi is people of wildlife. Ilingwezi is 16,575 acres. Ilingwezi Lodge actually started in 1995. We tried to use the local materials, like collecting the dead woods, the flat rocks within our group ranch. We built the whole thing in 1 year. Our elders selected the 23 good staff who are now running the place, who are working in the lodge now. Ilingwezi, as I said earlier, we are very proud to have this lodge, because in Kenya, as I said, we have 42 different tribes. Most of the tribes have lost their culture. And the good thing of our culture, we've built this thing and we are running it locally. And everyone is coming in, all the tribes, trying to see what we are doing, trying to copy what we are doing. You can see that people are thinking how tourism can be expanded.
Lewa supports 5 schools around the conservancy with a student and teacher population of 2,000. Basically, our education program is dependent on donations. One of the main aims of the trust is to make sure that our surrounding community realize the benefits of wildlife. So we usually go out to the schools there and we educate them about conservation, and we tell them that when you sit on that desk or when you write on that book, it's the lion that bought that book, it's the elephant that bought that book. So you find that the neighboring community are actually respectful of wildlife these days as opposed to the way it used to be a long time ago. Lewa has a policy to employ 70% of its staff from the neighboring community. 90% of these people are unskilled labor. So the aim of the trust is to make sure that in the next 5 years, the skilled labor is coming from our community.